Big Crafty Hope, and welcome to my bead desk. What's currently my bead desk? It's my craft desk in general, but I have this beautiful stuff laid out. I decided to pull out, I've got this box, well this is just one of them, of just some of the things I've received from Jesse James Beads since I became a design ambassador, and some of the things I bought from them and all of that. And I've combined it, you know, some of the regular size beads into this bead soup. This is all of my metal pieces. These are some of the larger beads. I've got charms in this and buttons in there and larger hole beads here and just all kinds of, I think there's some chain in there, and I think this is mostly like beads that are on strings or all go together. And then I've got some of these mixes that I just got from them that I haven't brought myself to just throw into the bead soup yet, because yeah, I'm really enjoying them. So, but what I have done is pulled out a bit of a palette. I think you can see it. It's mostly pinky purples with some neutral shades like grays and these like oil slick finishes and things like that, along with silver components. And then I have this large hole bead here with these beautiful AB crystals in it. And I think I'm going to make a bracelet. I kind of pulled this palette together with a friend in mind, thinking about her and the colors she likes and likes to wear. So I kind of, you know, encourage you to do that if you're making gifts for somebody for Christmas and aren't really sure what to make. Maybe just kind of pull out things that remind you of them and set to it, because that's what I'm going to do. I've pulled out this beautiful palette, and I've got some, what is it? I don't know if you can see that. It is 49 strand bead-along beading wire, and this is all I have left of that, and it's just the perfect size, I think, for a bracelet. So I've got that and a couple of crump beads, and I'm going to get to it. So I've paired most of these up because I want to start with this bead, and of course I'm going to throw it in the center and just kind of work out from it. So I'm trying to decide how I want to do that, because the best thing to do would be to just put this in the center and work out, and that may be what I end up doing. But the easiest way, if you do much jewelry making, is usually to start with your crimp beads, crimp one end and work across. But to me, this is a very like, I want to play with it design. So I figured I'd pop on the camera, let y'all watch me play with this, and yeah, we'll have some fun. So I'm gonna get to it, and I hope you enjoy it. Well, I'll see y'all on the other side. I have sped this whole process up quite a bit because you don't need to see me futzing too much. I did bank on either side of that large hole bead, 2 of the larger beads in the mix that I chose, and from there I'm just working outward from that center, trying to make sure that I don't have like 2 pink ones together or 2 silver ones together or 2 neutral ones together, spacing out. Like I've only got 2 sets of black beads in there. I'm going to make sure that those are spaced out a good distance from each other, those kind of things. So, and I'm just working out. I did try to keep some of the larger beads toward the center to make sure that that stayed kind of a focal. And I'm going to work out. You'll see as I go, I will also pull out a ruler just to kind of check the size of it, because I don't really want to go over, but at the same time, I don't want to be thinking in my head that it's long enough and it end up being too small. So yeah, there was that ruler. I will get to where I think I'm going to be done with this in just a little bit, and I will decide that I'm going to look at it here and adding more beads and deciding, no, I don't want that, and then I'll add these black ones and move things around. And so yeah, here in just a second I am going to decide that I don't like those oil slick ones. I'm looking at this and holding it up, and yeah, there I decided that the oil slick ones do not work. So using the other side as a reference, I took those out, put the black ones, I think that's what I did, put those larger black ones back in their place, and I'm just working back out. And I did switch out some of the rhinestone spacers because 2 of them didn't match. Some of were just clear spacers and some were the AB finish, and I wanted to make sure those matched. So did some swapping of things there and making some final decisions.
until I get to, up until I finish this, you'll see I'm making final decisions on it. So, yep. So I've got that one side where I think it's done, and so I've got a little clip thing that will hold it in place as I work on the other side, and just do the same process. Again, keeping the other side as a guide, but I don't have to make any final decisions there because they've already been made. So it's about the size I want, and I will show you what comes next now.
Now that I've got this laid out just how I wanted, you know, sometimes you have to take it apart, put it back together just to get it just right. As you saw, I kept bringing in a ruler because I knew I wanted it somewhere between 6.5, 7 inches, and it's right about there at 7, which might make it a little bit longer than I want, but I think that's pretty standard. So I'm tempted to go ahead and actually take off those little enders. I think I may. These little tiny ones, and keep it just a little bit shorter because I can always add more. It's hard to take off, so I could add jump rings or an extender chain or something like that to make it longer, but once I finish this I would have to take it all apart to make it shorter. So that's the idea. All right, so I am going to finish it like this, and I'm going to take one of my crimp tubes here, which are so tiny and hard to see, and just slide that on. Some people like to use a wire guardian. I have always struggled with those. I am working on getting better with them, but I'm not quite there yet. And with this bead cord, I don't believe it's absolutely necessary. So I pulled it through, and I took it back through like this. Now I'm having trouble getting it back through. And I'm going to pull it down, trying to keep it from crossing, and leave a fairly small loop here at the end. Just like that. And then I'm going to take my crimping pliers and crimp them in half, and then turn and fold it crimped close, just like that. And then I'm going to just trim off that excess. If you want, you can run that through your beads before, but I am not going to think it's necessary. So trim it like that, and then I will do the same thing on the other side. So the second side is going to be a little bit harder because you don't have as much wiggle room because the other side is already secure, but we can do this. So we will take our crimp bead and the end of our wire, and again insert it through, move it to the bottom, kind of make sure everything's slid down and not a whole lot of wiggle room. You don't want to make this super tight though, or it won't bend. So keep that in mind. Take the end of your wire, go back through your crimp bead and come out. Actually, you know what? We forgot to add the other bead. So where is it? We did that on the other side. We're gonna take that off. That's right. We took it off. Y'all, my brain. Gracious. All right. I'm glad I looked. Always double check, you know? What is that? Measure twice, cut once? Something like that. All right. So we've been it. We're going to go back through. Again, try to make sure your wires do not cross in your crimp bead. And pull that down to get a fairly small loop. All right. Now, keeping those from crossing, I'm going to put the little divot and then turn and grab. And then we will grab our flush cutters and go up in there and trim that off. I think I am. Oh, okay. I need some new flush cutters. All right, y'all. So that is the basics of our bracelet right there. Now this did end up a little bit longer as far as the loop than I would like, but that happens. We'll use some small jump rings to finish off, and I'm going to pick up all of these little extra bits. Well, not all of them, because I might use some of them actually to make some dangles. So that's what I'm trying to decide. I think I had, oh, where did they go? I had some silver jump rings here. So I'm trying to decide how long this bracelet is and how much more it needs to be. So we'll grab, now that it is done, we'll take a look at it from loop to loop. loop to loop, loop to loop. So it is about 7 1/4. So it's getting pretty close to not needing much more. I do have some chain over here. I have a set of findings here that are jump rings and lobster clasp. And then I've got this kind of open chain here that will work as an extender chain pretty well. So I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers and bent nose pliers and just get a small section off. You know, I'm trying to see, I was thinking about 4 loops, about an inch, 4 or 5 loops. Maybe we'll do 5. And we're going to open that, take the rest of that chain off, put it over here, and then close that. And that's basically just going to be our extender chain. On the other side, we're going to put a clasp, and we'll put that on with a fairly small jump ring so that we don't add a whole lot of additional length to this. I'm trying to get these jump rings come opened so they always tangle a little. So I've got this jump ring is already opened, and I'm going to slip it on the other end of the beading wire. Oh, well, I thought I was going to. And then slide on my lobster clasp. And then we twist to close. And we're going to make sure that's nice and close so that that beading wire does not inch its way through. Okay. And with that, really this bracelet's done. But like I said, I wanted to maybe add a couple of head pins with some dangles. So I'm just trying to decide. I tend to like to put a dangle at the end of a extender chain just for a little pizzazz. So I'm trying to decide which bead I think. I kind of like this little gray one here because, I don't know, there's something about the matte there and the shiny and the neutrality of it I really like. So I'm going to go ahead and, as you saw, just put it on my head pin, and I'm going to make a wrapped loop. So I am bending the wire out at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to come up and make my loop. It's probably a little too big. Before I close that loop though, I'm going to go ahead, I can open this little ring on here on this chain, but I figure why go to the extra trouble when I can just slip that on before I close that loop and then make my wrap. Just like so. Tighten it up just a smoosh. Cut off the excess. Alright, so there is that fun little dangle. And I'm trying to decide if I want to add another one somewhere or another one on there. I kind of, wondering if I have any teeny tiny pink beads. So I'm looking over back here in my bead stash to see if I have anything tiny, which means I have to dig to the bottom. There's something about small beads. I know it's something with physics that small things tend to filter to the bottom. I'm gonna dig. Oh, I found that one may work. It's got that super hot pink on it. Will it fit with a bead cap? Let's see. Don't know, that bead cap won't fit quite right with it. I feel like it does need something. So I'm going through my metals to see if I can find here one of these super tiny rhinestone spacers. We're going to make sure that goes on my head pin nicely. And then just slide that to the bottom. And we're going to do the same thing. Use my round nose pliers to make a bend. Slide them up to make my loop. Like so. Then I'll make sure my loop is open just a scoosh. So I can also slide it down at the end. Use my chain nose pliers to close that little loop. And then make my wrap. Just like so. and then we'll trim it. And y'all, this beaded bracelet is done. Now I will tuck the ends of my wraps here. I do prefer to do that with my, if I can find them, these tweezer nose pliers. I like that they can get in there a little bit better. And that's it. I have a beautiful, I'm going to move all my extras out. I'll sort them back out in a minute. And hopefully this will fit my friend just beautifully. If not, it has that extender chain with the lovely dangles. I'm really happy with that. All right, guys, if y'all have any questions, let me know. And like I said, all of this stuff came from Jesse James Beads, with the exception of the little bit of chain and the findings I used. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Bye.